Hey guys, I'm here at Cashion Rods. I'm here with Reid McKinstry, and he is going to walk us through how these rods are made. It's going to be fascinating. It's going to be a lot of fun. And so, Reid, we're just going to hop right into this. Where do we start?
Let's jump in. Let's head to the back and see how we do it.
A little peek behind the curtain.
I love it.
I want to ask so many questions right now, but I know I gotta hold, gotta pause.
I'll probably answer some of those for you, and then we can hit the individual ones as we go. Here we are in blanks, man. Check it out.
Ooh, it's chilly back here.
It's a little cold in this room. You see most of the guys got sweatshirts on. We have to keep this room cooler than most of the rest of the building to help keep our material good.
Ah,
so
interesting.
It's really important that the material stays cool so it rolls and keeps really well.
From start to finish, let's just walk people through how a rod is made here at Cashion.
Sure.
What we can share. Sure, some things you can't share.
I got a couple things I got to keep secret, but most of it's pretty open, right? So this is our blanks department. This is something that's kind of unique for us, because not a lot of guys that are building the rods are actually building their own blanks. So this is something we do in-house, start to finish, which again is a little bit unique. So this is where everything starts. This is our cutting area. So we have back on those rolls in the back what we call Prepreg. This is our carbon fiber mixtures. This is where all the blanks start. Prepreg comes in. This is our material compound, an epoxy mixture the Doc helped create and you know is using, Dr. Matt. And so they come on here every day. This area has to be done before the rest of the operation. So Miss Ellen is our main cutter. So what she does every day is we'll have a list of what we want to work on the next day in the blanks department. She'll go through, pull the material out. We have a bunch of programs on the cutting machine that will run. So she'll pull it out, get it set up. It'll cut out all these patterns like you see on the far table over there. Usually it takes a mixture of both of these materials. She'll run through, cut everything out. And that's basically the template for how the blank shape is gonna roll. That's gonna give you your actions and your powers. Once she gets all the layers cut, then she's gonna assemble them together. And then from there, it'll be fed into the actual operation, which is what they're doing today is what she worked on yesterday.
Okay, so what I'm looking at here is just, once you roll this up, do the process. These are your rods.
This is the starting point for a fishing rod. This is the raw material right here, absolutely.
So that cut over there, each one of those is going to turn into a rod.
Every one of those will be a fishing rod tomorrow.
And the combination of these two here are going to determine...
Yeah, so the mixture of the materials and where the materials are placed on the rod as it gets rolled around the mandrel is what gives it the actions, the powers, the bends, and the durability. So, you know, every model is designed to have a very specific action, and that's where the shapes that she's cutting out, that's where it all comes from.
So, I'm always curious about this. So if you're not making them here in the U.S., where are companies getting them from?
Typically, I think they say 95% of all fishing tackle comes from Asia. Typically China, there's a few other countries that are doing it. You know, blanks are typically going to come from Japan, China, or South Korea. A little bit done in Taiwan.
So 5%, you're looking at the 5%.
Yeah, exactly. That's global. It might be a little bit more, you know, US, if you just looked at US brands, but globally that's kind of how it shakes out.
Just getting ready to cut?
In just a minute, she'll run the cutting machine. She's getting her program set up. So you'll see, if you look here, that's the shape that it's going to be on the top. And then as it does it, it's like a nesting file. So it groups them together so it reduces the waste. So it cuts, it'll cut the pattern. So she's actually putting, we can only fit, it looks like 8 patterns in one sheet. And then sometimes there's like the butt strips or some other little pieces. If there's room, she'll like drop those in there too. So try to use as much material as we can because it's pretty expensive.
Why all the freezers?
The freezers actually store all the Prepreg material. So each one of these freezers has, you know, 1 or 2 rolls of that material in them. We also have a freezer outside, so we keep all the bottom material on these ones on the inside. All the top material is loaded up in the freezer outside. And we bring them in, and we know we're gonna have to change one of them. That's one of the rolls right there. We know we're gonna have to change the bottom roll later today. So we pulled it out yesterday. day to let it kind of cool down a little bit, get a little bit more room temperature. When she's done with this roll, we'll swap that for her so she can keep going, probably for tomorrow's cuts.
There he goes. So before this, you had this machine. You did hand cut these things.
Yep. So there was a large ruler and a razor blade and some. Yep. And there's actually a lot of factories that still do it that way.
Really?
Yep.
Just a ton of people just cutting them.
Yeah, you know, and there's a lot of factories, you know, we do this because we're trying to build a pretty good amount of rods every day, and it's a lot more efficient than doing it by hand.
Quality control as well.
Exactly. This is much more precise. Obviously, this is a machine program that's doing it by laser, so it takes most of the air out of it.
I like it.
So after it's cut, they'll be assembled. To start every day, the team will already have what they're gonna build ready and assembled over there.
Okay.
So it's gonna come over here. This is our main operation. So these guys are gonna be running all throughout the day. So the starting point is our mandrels. So the mandrels are our most important thing. This is the true template for every one of the patterns. So
it's a lot of mandrels.
The material that's getting rolled over there is getting wrapped around each of these. There's a couple different models over here. They all have different shapes.
Yep.
But you need a lot of them because it's a couple day cycle that they're going to be used. So what we're doing today won't be back available over here for us to use again until Thursday.
I'm sure they're precision then.
Yeah, so these are all Japanese high carbon steel, a very fine machine. So the distances on everything are, you know, extremely precise.
When you get precision, I'm sure they it sounds expensive, let's put it that way.
Yeah, like I said, this is probably our, aside from the big machines, our most expensive asset and something that we are constantly spending a lot of time on to protect.
Got it.
So the care of these is critical for us because that's what gives you a better rod. Also, they're expensive. We don't like having to buy a bunch more of them, but they're not that easy to get. It's a custom-made product.
Yeah.
And you know, so every day they have to get cleaned, straightened, waxed, and ready for the next day. It's all a hand-done process, pretty much.
Got it. So that material's getting tacked, wrapped around this.
Yep. So it's going to come over here. Jack's going to line up some mandrels. He's going to put a tack on them, which is like just a very light glue, basically, that helps the material stick to the mandrels. So he's going to go through. He's going to get them all lined up equally. He's going to lay the tack on there. Make sure it's a nice even coat so that we don't want too much tack because it'll like smear out and kind of mix in with the epoxies. And he's going to take them one by one. He's going to bring them over to this end. He's going to secure them. He's going to measure what we call his tack point, the starting point.
Okay.
And that's where the material starts on the mandrel. And that again is kind of one of the secret spots because we have a lot of mandrels over there, but it's a lot of the same variation. So there's only a handful of different styles that create most of our models. So this one, you know, is tacked a certain distance from the tip, but they're all tacked differently. And that's again what's going to give it its shape. So he's going to go get it on there really good, make sure everything's nice and smooth, clean. He's got it done. He's going to move it to the other side of the table, and now Aaron is going to take it and take it over. This machine is a rolling table. This is what we call Bertha. This is kind of Big Bertha, exactly. And Aaron is the Bertha master. He's been keeping her in check for quite a few years now.
All right.
He's going to make sure everything's on there, again, attached to the mandrel really good. There's no creases or anything like that. And he's going to flip them over, get it all lined up, and let her eat.
All right.
That comes down, applies pressure, and rolls
it did it at an angle. All right.
So it rotates at an angle because of, again, the taper of the rod. So only one side of the table pivots, basically.
Got it.
Heat and pressure, heat coming from the bottom, pressure coming from the top, and then everything swings in to basically get it to wrap. So it'll lay on there nice and even. He's going to put a butt strip on and label what the model is. He's going to load it up on our rack over here.
And do it all again.
And do it all again. And we typically do anywhere from 2 to 4 different models in a day.
Okay.
Perfect world, we do 3 different models.
Right.
You know, a nice controlled run, nice batch of 3 different models in a day.
Yep.
Get those through, and then the next day is usually a totally different models.
Got it. So what are we looking at over here?
So now we're doing, this is called wrapping. So this is a cello tape wrap. Basically, this is encasing the material to the mandrel like you would in a mold.
Yep.
Because the next step is to cure it. And when you're curing it, you're basically you're heating it up to pull the epoxy through all the material to make it one piece. So this is, you know, locking it in place so that the material can't move and that all the epoxies can like spread through the carbon and solidify
so this gets taken off later.
Yep. So this is going to go through, there's like 45 yards of cello tape that goes on every single rod because it's wrapped very, very tightly and close together. And that's what gives the rod kind of the durability as well.
All right.
So it's going to get cured. Basically, all the rods are going to get loaded up today, just like this. We'll have this cart will be pretty much totally full by the end of the day. And you can see on here, it's got,
awesome.
When you see our rods at the end of the day, they kind of have, we typically are building on raw rods. This is where that like texture on the outside of the rod comes from. It's from the grooves and the tape.
All right.
As it's put in there.
That's fascinating.
So it's going to hold that guy in place. This whole cart is going to be full at the end of the day. It'll get moved over here and loaded into our oven. You guys hear the oven running right now?
I hear it.
Unfortunately, I can't show you in there at the moment. This will run for another hour and a half probably.
Got it.
So this guy's loaded with rods right now, or blanks right now. There's
how many blanks we got in there?
Somewhere in the ballpark, 130, 150 blanks probably.
Okay.
I don't know exactly what we did yesterday, but that's usually our kind of daily average. So it's loaded with blanks right now. When these are done, we'll pull them out in small batches and pop the carbon off of the metal mandrels.
Okay.
Separate them out.
I was wondering about that. How do you get seems a little difficult to get them out of there.
It's not something that's that easy. So we actually have a hydraulic puller here.
All right.
So we'll load the mandrels in. Oh, this is a bad one. It'll go in here, and then it locks into that chuck right there, and it pulls it back and just pops this off. You'll see this one here didn't pop off at some point, so this one got a little bit too cool. That's why it didn't pop really well. So we got to heat this up again to get it off the main. Yeah, we'll heat it up in the oven. We'll do like once every couple weeks. We'll do like a secondary oven during the day. We'll heat up the ones that didn't pop.
Fix all the
and fix them all. That way we can get the mandrels back. The rods are obviously not going to be good, but we want the mandrels back so we can put them back into the operation.
What's the temp of the oven and stuff like that?
So the oven, that's kind of one of our secrets.
All right.
I can't really
tell you. Secret. I found it.
I can't really tell you too much, but there's a process that matches kind of the materials that we're using.
Got it.
That heats it up in different stages for a couple hours. That's kind of the
secret
one
sauce.
thing I can't give too much detail on, but you know, there's a pattern or a theory for how to cure the right way.
And you guys have figured it out. How long have you been in business?
17, 18 years.
Okay. So you figured a few things out over the time.
Yep. So once those are all done, they all get popped off. We'll come over here, another operation. Basically, like you said, we have to get the cello tape off.
Yep.
So we gotta, we call them tippet, start them, basically take the tape off. Once we get them in like groups of 10, they go back in the trough and we pull all the material off by hand.
All right.
We load them back over here. At the end of the day, 3:30, 4 o'clock, this rack will be full of blanks that are ready to be QC'd.
Okay.
Our guys will come over and QC them, so we'll do a visual inspection, make sure there's no defects, make sure everything's straight. We'll load test them, make sure they're not going to break.
Okay.
Once we're confident that we have, you know, the best quality rod, they're going to go into the inventory.
Got it.
And here's our kind of main inventory bins right now for basically all the things that we're building up front.
Okay.
We have some other inventory on the other side for like our OEM customers and things that are a little more custom.
These are just Cashion.
This is just the stuff that we're using in Cashion branded rods.
Got it.
So this is all these rods are going to be turned into a Cashion branded rod eventually. So
But people love your rods and they want to build with them.
Yeah, if you want.
So you do that stuff too.
Yep. So we have have both like home builders that we sell to through Mudhole and some of those kind of distributor companies, and then we do also sell our blanks to a number of different builders.
Okay.
Or small brands that are building their own rods.
So if someone wants to find it, they go to mudhole.com.
Yep. If you're just looking for one or two, you can buy them on mudhole.com.
Yep.
If you're looking to be in the rod business or you have a brand and you want to use some Cashion blanks, we can do that as well.
All right, there you go, guys. What is this guy? It looks lonely.
So here's a brand new machine that we're working on implementing in a new project that's coming down the pipeline here in another couple months. So this is a machine that will be applying decals for us in the very near future.
So what goes on the butt tip? It says like Chatterbait or something like that.
Exactly. So like the Cashion branded decal, the specs, and like the model labels are all going to be applied via this machine in the future.
Just an efficiency move?
It's an efficiency move and it's a quality move. It just makes the rod look a little bit better, helps our fit and finish, gives us a little bit different look than how we've done it in the past, and definitely helps our efficiency through the rest of the building.
I like it. This will be up and running in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, we're hoping to start that production on the new project beginning of February, actually.
Okay.
So a couple months after that, we might have something pretty cool coming down the pipeline to launch to keep an eye out on.
You're not going to give up the juice, are you?
I'm not going to give you too much info.
You're just going to have to wait.
We'll let you.
Maybe by the time this is edited.
We'll let you shoot some cool videos on the new product when it comes out,
right.
and you can push it to your audience that way.
I like it. I like it.
On this side of the room, we just have a clean room. This is where we do blank sanding, all of our blank cutting, anything else that's kind of a messy operation we do in here. We're cutting carbon fiber and sanding carbon fiber. It makes a lot of dust and a lot of mess. We try to keep it all in one area so it doesn't contaminate or get all throughout the rest of the building.
This your OEM?
This is our OEM slot. So this is blanks that we either are working on, have sold, or stock we have built up for some other OEM customers, basically.
So I am noticing a typical Cashion rod will have this raw feel, right?
Yep.
But some of these don't. Smoother.
So these do. This is just a different finish.
Okay.
So these are our two most popular blanks. This is our Icon blank, CR6R.
I own a few of those.
This is our Element blank, CRZM.
Okay.
The difference in the color, basically, is because of the tape that we're using when we wrap them. So it's just a different tape that's giving it a little bit different finish on the outside. So this one has like a matte gray finish versus just using a regular clear cello tape, which gives it this black finish. So this just lets the color of the Prepreg material come through, where this is actually almost like dyeing or putting a coating over the material to give it that kind of gray, matted gray finish.
So someone who's maybe new to Cashion rods, this is kind of like DNA, right?
Yep.
You don't, because when I buy a rod or I go to Walmart or a lot of other rod companies, you don't have this. Why is this unique?
Yeah, so we like to use what we call or sell or build on what we call raw blanks.
Yep.
So this is one that hasn't had any additional treatment to them after it's come out of the wrappers. So the ridges on there are actually from the cello tape that you saw on the wrappers. But what we found, a couple things, when you keep the rod raw, it helps to reinforce the rod a little bit. It gives it a little bit more durability, so it's not going to crush or break quite as easily.
Got it.
And also, those little ridges actually allow the vibrations to transfer through the rod a little bit better. And if you sand the blank, you're taking a little bit of material off. Could be slightly lighter, but you're also reducing the wall thickness a little bit, so you're taking away some durability.
Got it.
So it's more likely to crack, break, something along those.
You guys don't make any that don't have this. Like that's part of your DNA.
We don't anymore. All of our current production models are all built on raw blanks.
I like it.
Yep. It's one of the things we hope is keeping them very durable, so you guys aren't having a lot of breakage issues out there, and very sensitive as well.
Haven't had any issues with mine. I own 5 of them. 6.
All right. And so you'll see here, this is a sanded model again for OEM customers. So this model has already gone through the sander, so you'll see it's a lot smoother finish on the outside.
You can still see though the.
I would
still be able to tell that's a Cashion rod. However, sanded.
You just can't feel that.
Yeah. Interesting. All right.
And that's pretty much it. So actually, we'll stay here for just a second because the next process actually starts right here. So we've kind of gone through the blanks department.
Yep.
We put our rods into inventory. The next phase kind of starts here. So We'll move into the assembly room in just a second, see our builders, but the very first thing they do every day or sometimes the night before is they have to come back, what they're building that day, get their blanks from the inventories, come over here and cut them.
All right.
So the very first step for them is to cut the blanks to size. So they'll
they
come.
get a purchase order.
Yep. We have our work order set up for what we want them to build. Our assembly team, our builders will come back. They'll grab a cart.
Yep.
They'll load the blanks on them. They'll bring them into the cutting room here, and they'll cut them to size.
All right.
So whatever length, dimension each blank is supposed to be for that model, we'll do all that work here, and then they'll bring them back through the bay door over here and roll it into the front of the shop and kind of get started.
All right.
Now we can go take a look and see what I'm talking about.
Because I'm getting a little chilly back here.
I got you a little ahead of myself, but that way we don't have to walk back and forth. And as you said, once we come in here, it's
warm.
like walking through and getting hit in the face with a little bit of heat.
I like it.
Got to keep it a lot cooler back there, but we don't need to freeze to death up here. So we'll keep this room a little bit more standard temp. Unfortunately, you guys hit us on the day where in the beginning of the year with some flu season stuff going on. So I got a couple people out in this room today, but this is our starting point. So Trent over here is one of our builders.
Hi, Trent.
And you see he's actually working on some rods right now. So Trent's the one who would grab the blanks and do the cutting.
Yep.
And once he's done with the cutting, he's gonna bring them over here. He's gonna load all the rods up. His first step is actually using splining machine right here. So he's gonna load every blank into that spliner. He's gonna bend it, find where the backbone is on the rod, and then mark it.
All right, so walk through for someone who's not like a rod builder, spline. Like
Sure.
what's he looking for, and why is that important to find it?
So it's important to find because that's the most natural bend of the blank. And
Because you had to start it somewhere with the Prepreg. Right.
Exactly. So that Prepreg is a material sheet rolled around the mandrel.
Right.
There's actually going to be, most all blanks have two splines. There's a low spline and a high spline. And we want to find that high spline, which is where the rod is going to have the best bend.
Okay.
And if you can find that, then when you go to cast, it's going to help the rod bend in the right way, so your line stays in line with the blank and cast a little bit further.
Got it.
And when you're fighting the fish, it's not going to like roll
to the left or right.
Yep, roll.
So you want that lined up
one side or another
with your guides, I would imagine.
Exactly. So it varies. If it's a spinning rod, your high spline is on the top and your guides go underneath. If it's a casting rod, it's the other way around.
Right.
So those all go in here. I can do it, but Trent's probably a lot better at it. If you want to see him do one, you put the blank in here. You put a bend to it, and this has bearings in it. And you spin it, and you'll feel it kind of like snap in place on the different spots.
All right.
Once you find that high one, you'll mark it on the center, and that's basically his guideline for everything that he builds. So he's gonna take that spline rod, he's gonna lay it on his jigs, and he's gonna start his build process using that as his guides for everything. Once he's got everything splined, then his next step is to get everything marked out. So he takes the different handle lengths, he'll take a marker, and he'll mark the spots where the grips go, the reel seats go, all those pieces. Once he's got those marked, then he's gonna take the grips, and we call it reaming. So he's gonna take the drills with the different reaming papers on them, and he's gonna sand them out so that they fit.
The inside.
Yep, the inside of the grips so that they fit. So for example, this is a cork spinning grip.
So the element.
Yep, so this would be like a drop shot rod or a Ned Ridder rod. This is the rear grip that would go on there. But these come to us with a standard diameter on the inside. But because the blanks all have different diameters where they're actually going to be placed, we have to prepare them. So there's a reaming process, basically just boring the hole out a little bit differently so that it fits that spot nice and snug for the glue to have enough room to cure, and that it'll stay on there. If it's reamed out too much, it can be loose and can break off. If it's not enough, you can't get it down to the spot that you want. So getting that sizing done to match the spot on the blank is super critical. And it's something that we have some templates, but it takes a lot of feel. It's one of the things like these operations. Yeah, exactly. It's a craft. These aren't things that someone's going to learn or master very quickly. It takes time and a lot of repetition to get really good at being able to do it, and especially do it efficiently. So once he gets everything reamed out, depending upon the model that we're building, obviously cork in an element, same our carbon grips that we make here.
Which one looks like we'll get to in a minute.
Yep, we'll get over to that operation in just a minute. Looks like Kevin's building some stuff right now, so we can take a look at that. Then he basically is going to glue everything in place. Once he gets them all in place and glued down, they'll sit for a little bit to make sure they cure, so that they're not loose. He'll also, while they're still a little bit wet, he'll probably go back and double check the splines. So put it on the ground and make sure that like the triggers on a casting rod or the reel seat spot that would hold your reel matches his spline line once you actually do it. Make any small adjustments to it, let him finish, and then what he's doing right now is applying all the decals. So,
which is that machine over there will do.
So right now, Trent's doing, we're doing all the decal applications by hand in this operation. In the future, that's going to change because that's going to be done in the back ahead of time. So he'll receive the rods with the decals already applied, which means the cutting and the splining will also be done for him. And then he's just going to focus on building, basically getting the grips and everything put in the right place perfectly.
He just saved
a couple hours a day.
How you feel about that, boss?
I mean, it is done by hand, so it, you know, like to get them lined up, and again, just to get good at putting the decals on. And I can say that because I've done it, and I'm not very good at it. Getting stuff straight for me apparently is pretty hard.
If it's wonky, he put it on.
Exactly.
By the way, if
you can blame me. You can blame
5
me.
degrees.
Thankfully, I don't do that very often, so hopefully we don't have a lot of them out there like that.
Own that one. Chatterbait rod.
Ooh.
Own the top water rod.
All right.
Both of those fantastic rods.
You can see we got a lot of stuff moving through the shop right now. Once Trent's got everything done there, built up, it's cured, he's got the decals on them. This is kind of our staging area. So basically, the building department, first assembly stage is done. They're gonna go with the work orders to these carts right here. And then these are our wrapping machines.
So these are like already purchased?
Not necessarily purchased. This is basically to put into inventory when they're done. Some of them might have been pre-sold already, or we have some back orders that they'll fill, but this is all the stuff that's in our whip right now that's moving through the shop. So these all have been gone through the initial build stage. All your handles are on, all your decals are on, ready to go. They just need guides. And so this is another area that's something a little bit unique for us. We actually designed, built, and created these wrapping machines.
You engineered it.
You got a couple different iterations. This is the first one that we built. We made some improvements in the second one. We actually have a third one that we're designing and building right now. Typically, we have 2 operators in this department, and they're sitting here and they basically take the rod, set the machine up for the template model that they're doing. And then there's a process to, you know, get the thread started, put the guides on, and it actually does most of the wrap work for us. There's patterns and you know, programs in the machine that actually spins the rods and puts the thread wraps on.
It's going to be the same thread wrap.
Exactly.
So typically, if you were doing and building a rod, you do this individually.
So when I do it at home, I sit on my wrapper and I got to, you know, control the thread on every single rod individually. This just gives us a little bit more control and you know, takes a lot of that hand operation out of it.
So you said this was different iterations. So this is V1?
Yeah, V1.
What's the difference in V1 to V2 and V3? I'm sure your iteration.
The iteration changes are a lot of times small things, like where the control boxes are on this one. Some of the, you know, the arms and some of the tweaks here, so we can do bigger guides or wider spacings and things like that. There's a couple more arms on this one than that one. So, you know, we use a lot of guides because we're using micro guides on a lot of our rods. So, you know, it just gives us the ability to put more guides on or put bigger guides on. The new machine is actually scaled up because we're starting getting a lot more into saltwater. So it's so basically some of the arms are just spread apart a little bit more, so it can handle bigger saltwater guides.
You shared the juice with us.
Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty interesting one. Like I said, I've never seen this in all my travels in the industry.
Good luck recreating it. Have fun.
You know, our team spent. Thankfully, we have you know, a PhD on staff who has a lot of experience in this kind of stuff. We work with some good engineers to kind of help dial this in and take a cool idea and actually develop into something that is production ready. And now we've just been refining it, I guess, over the last 5 or 6 years. So we're super excited for the new machine. Just gives us, again, some additional consistency and some better output.
Yeah, which is good because you guys are
growing.
You're growing.
Yeah, I'll take that. This is our QC station right now. I don't have anybody up here, but you'll see a couple bundles of rods. Basically, we're checking. Obviously, we do a QC step on the blanks.
Yep.
Once the rods come into here, there's a QC step once we start the very first one on each of these machines.
Okay.
You know, once you get everything set up, you turn the first one, check it, make sure it's right before you build 50 of them or whatever you might have to do. But then we do an additional step here. So he's going to make sure that everything is in the exact right place. It's all the right components. Everything is put where it should be. There's no major issues. We put the tips on the rods right here, and then that's it.
How many QC steps do you have during the entire process?
We have 5 main QC steps.
Okay.
So there's
and then the final boss.
Yeah, so the final QC we'll see up here, which is basically of a completed good. But again, pretty much every step has some sort of QC check before it moves to the next operation. Absolutely, that's kind of critical for us. We don't want to put out a craft American-made product that we aren't super proud of.
Yeah.
So we have to make sure that we put our hands on every single rod. There's a lot of hands touching it. There's like 30-something steps to build a rod if you look at it start to finish. A handful of those are someone actually just looking for imperfections.
That's pretty sweet. No, I had Matt on my podcast, and he was talking about all this stuff, but it's not fully coming full circle.
Yeah, you got to see
I'm
it.
here seeing it. Like your grips, your carbon fiber grips.
Yep.
But never thought they were made like this.
It's interesting. So this is one of the things that the brand kind of helped create or bring to the fishing tackle space, I guess, a number of years ago. We've always produced these in-house, figured out how to do it, and it's kind of been one of the things. And again, the carbon fiber gives you a little less weight. Yeah, go ahead. That guy's gonna be very heavy. So this is a mandrel full of some butt grips. It looks like that just need to be finished the rest of the way. So they've been dyed, epoxy coated, cut. They would just need to be pulled off and then sanded to be finished on the ends before we would use them.
And so you make all these in-house?
Yes, sir.
I like it. And then the colors, are they, like you said, dyed? You just dye them?
Yeah, so we have, most all of them start like this. Okay. Like the white and black. So the black is carbon fiber, the white is fiberglass material.
So it'll dye.
So the white is what will dye, exactly. Okay. So Kevin typically will use that same material when he starts them. He will move them up here, and depending upon, what the work order is or what the sale order is, he'll dye them on demand. So if it's a core, it's gonna stay like this, and we're just gonna epoxy coat it. When we're looking at the grips, basically they're all gonna come in the white and black pattern, and then Kevin is gonna dye them to be gray for Icon, red for John Cruz. We also sell grips or do custom stuff in a bunch of other colors. We do pinks and greens and all kinds of other stuff like that. So he's gonna take them. Once he gets them skinned, he'll pull them up top here, he'll dye them, and they'll spin to cure for a day, basically. Next step would be to clear coat them or epoxy coat them so that they're durable, they're not gonna fray up, they're gonna last. And then what he's doing right now is cutting them off. So he's gotta pop them off, you'll see, exactly, so you'll see this is a white one. It's probably some core grips or something that's gonna be dyed. And obviously something that has been dyed that will be a John Cruz butt grip very soon.
We just stopped by Missile Baits a couple days ago.
Oh, nice. Yeah. We just saw him at the Raleigh Fishing Show this past weekend. We were hanging out.
We were going to do a video, but I think he picked something up and he's like, I lost my voice, guys. Sorry, I can't do the walkthrough here.
We must have got him sick at the trade show.
Yeah, it was your fault.
Well, like I said, we got a lot of people that are feeling a little sick right now. So
yeah, it's the time of that year. My wife called me up. She's like, I'm not feeling great either. So.
Yeah. So
all right.
We got a number of people. And then now we're in the front of the building. So this is our epoxy, final QC, and shipping area.
Okay.
So once the rods are approved in the QC department back there, they're going to be transferred up here. They'll go on these racks. Okay. So these are all rods that have been affirmed that the blank quality, the build quality are good, and the guides are all on and in the right place. They'll come up here to these guys. They'll get staged in on these racks. We'll see that they're actually putting some epoxy on right now, but the first step they have to do is actually what's right behind you. And you'll see a couple of them are lined up here. And what Heath is doing right now is he's actually aligning the guides. So every one of these rods is going to be picked up by hand by one of our operators who are trained at this.
Yep.
And they're going to look down the rod and realign and make sure all the guides are perfectly centered down the rod.
Oh, so you can actually move them on the thread.
Yep.
Still.
They'll go back and forth just a little bit. Yeah, they're usually not.
Yeah, you can't make a big problem.
They're not threaded on at 90 degrees, but you know, it's just the eyes or the centers of the eyes got to be aligned down that spline, so the line will go through the rod really easily. So he's going to do that with every single rod by hand.
Got it.
Put them on this rack so that, again, they're not getting bumped or out of line.
Yep.
So they're nicely organized, and then from here they'll get loaded on the rollers
And epoxy.
And
that'll just, so it does evenly. This will go for a while.
Yep. So the epoxy takes about 7 or 8 hours to cure.
Oh, so these will run for hours.
Yeah. So
all day.
Yep. So these will actually run until 10, 11 o'clock tonight, probably.
Okay.
Now, what they're doing right now, since it's the morning, they'll actually probably be done, 7 o'clock tonight. But, we're doing these in some groups all throughout the day. So they'll be, the last batch will probably be epoxied 4 o'clock.
Got it. So is this whole thing moving around as well slowly and I can't see it?
Nope, it's just each rod is spinning
So
individually.
you can manually move it to the next.
Yep, and then they'll work in pairs typically right now, so they'll do like 3 or 4 rods that they can get to.
Yep.
And then they'll rotate the whole thing
Got
around.
it.
So they got the next 4 lined up. So they'll start at the butt and they'll cover up all the decals, any winding checks that need to be done,
Yep.
and then go work up the rod covering all the threads.
I have the multi-purpose Icon. You seeing all the rods?
Yeah, there's probably a lot of good stuff in this area right now
like
that hopefully in the next few days will be up front and in your hands or somebody else's hands on the water.
Not somebody else's. My hands. Be in my hands soon.
Well, I'm sure we got something here we can find. Once they're done in QC, every morning they'll pop all the rods off the rollers.
Okay.
They'll bring them over here.
The final boss?
This is it. Heath, who is just inspecting, or Mike, will come through, and there's a cleaning process. So all these still need to be cleaned. All this stuff has already been, looks like, cleaned and sorted.
Like wiped down and.
Yep. So we got to go through, obviously. Like these are ones that look like
Yeah, you get the
over the
spline
last few
marks
days
and
haven't
stuff.
passed. Right.
Yep.
Clean off the spline marks. Make sure there's not like any funky spots or epoxy in any weird areas.
Yeah,
Glue, things like that. Just get them nice and clean, and then QC them out. And so. Okay, here's some stuff that might have had some little issue on it. We're going to send it back to rework. It's not ready for a customer. Everything that is ready is
Wow,
going to
you
go on
guys-
these racks right here. And then it's going to be brought over and go right. It's going to have tags and UPCs and tags put on it, put right in a bag, and put in inventory.
Got it. What's your most recent rod? Or series?
Our
That's the
most
Z2s?
recent series was a Z2.
Okay.
We launched last spring, so February, March, something like that.
That took place to the Z1, or are you still?
Yeah, so it replaced the original elements.
Got it.
The blue was the first one we did with cork. It was like a blue rod. That's what these are here. So they kind of got an upgrade. What we did here is change the hardware components a little bit, different, cork grip structure.
Yep.
And we changed the blanks out. So this is a totally different blank that was in the old one, a lot higher end blank, more similar to the current Icon blank.
Really? This is what I want to get my hands on sometime. I have ice on the water right now.
Yep. It's again the element range when we relaunched that Z2 has been an awesome range for us. It's a price point range, but $130 American-made fishing rod isn't something you can find very often.
Can't touch that.
You got somewhere in the ballpark probably of like a $200 value because of the technology in Icons and stuff like that.
Kind of gets passed down.
It's been rolled down into here exactly. Still, American-made. It's really just the hardware. The look and feel of that rod is kind of your classic fishing rod. You know what I mean? Something that anybody can afford, will like to use, and be successful in using was kind of our target there. Working man rod is what we were going for in that family.
No, that price point's money. I think it's great. What is that, like 130, 139?
$130 for most models. We got a couple, like we came out with a second launch, like a swim bait rod, like a entry level glide bait rod.
Yeah.
So guys that want to get into something, same for BFS, you can go and buy the Icon series, spend a bunch of money, but a lot of people don't know if they're even going to like BFS or like glide bait or swim bait fishing. So you can get a rod, $130 to help you you know, see if you want to get into that area, makes it a lot more accessible for people, give you something that's really going to work in those techniques versus using something that you might have had in the boat that isn't really made for that application. There are a couple chatterbait rods there that are going into inventory today, so
Jake,
not very many it looks like, but a
Jake's
couple.
money just flew out of his wallet just now. There's nothing like coming home from like church or something and
seeing one of those tubes,
and seeing one of these tubes on the front.
No doubt.
It's even better when you pull out 2 or 3 or 4 at the same time. So one of the last questions I want to ask you, what is the one thing that you wish people could know? If you could, maybe the number one question you get, or maybe number one concern that you could just quell right now. Now's your chance.
Oh man, that's a great question. I think the brand is doing really well. We're growing. I mean, the one thing a lot of people don't really realize is that this is a true craft product. Where you guys just saw it. It's a lot of American hands touching this thing from start to finish, and we take a lot of pride in that. Every one of those guys back there, you know, we got a lot of anglers in the building. We got a lot of people that really care about what they're doing, and that's something that we take a lot of pride in. We care about our people because we care about the product that we're producing at the end of the day.
Okay.
That's really it, man.
So we were walking through, when we first came in, you have like a showroom.
Yep.
And
we used to have a showroom.
It looked a little bare. What happened there?
Yeah, so we had a big trade show in Raleigh this past weekend. So we're in beginning of the year, we're in trade show season. So we've had almost every weekend so far this year has been a trade show somewhere in the country. We're sending rods to those. Well, the local trade show is a pretty big deal. We took pretty much everything that we had in our showroom and some of our stock, and we sold every single thing we brought to the show pretty much. We left the show with only a handful of rods. We sold a few hundred rods at the show. So my showroom is pretty sparse up there right now.
So you could be, are you like out of stock on things just because the orders are coming in faster than you can make them?
Yeah, so I mean, we're in a lot better position now, but yeah, so like when you look at these racks right here, those are all staged orders for dealers where we're, you know, either it was a future dated order, we're getting ready to ship, or we're waiting on a couple more rods to come up to fill it so that we can ship it. I'm not saying we're working from behind, but we don't have a ton of rods in those inventories because the beginning of the year has been, last year finished really strong, and we're jamming right now, growing like crazy.
What's your growth projection?
It's crazy, man. So we actually are anticipating about a 40% production increase this year compared to what we did last year.
Cartwheels down the hallway at 5%, so 40?
Exactly. It's a good problem to have. It makes my job a little crazy.
Busy.
But
he's like, I got to stop shooting videos.
Like I said, we're doing a lot of things to try to help the operation flow. We talked about a couple of those things, but it's the people and making sure everybody kind of knows, hey, this is what we're trying to accomplish this year. We got a market for it, so. Let's do the best job that we can and get them through, man. We gotta put 100 rods every day in inventory, pretty much.
Wow. Wow.
Sounds easy, but isn't always
it doesn't sound, it looks easy, but that looks like years and years of trial and error on the way. I own 5 Icons, love them, ran them all last year. Look forward to getting my hands on some of your Z2s this year. And so it's going to be a good year. You'll see me in them. I love them. Congrats.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you very much. Man. And like I said, make sure you guys check out a couple months. We might have a couple pretty new things coming down the pipeline. So
I like it.
Check it out very soon.
This is stop number 4 of the factory tour road trip. Next up is going to be Humminbird. So I'm going to link up that video right there. Thanks for watching, guys. See ya.